All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, very excited to be talking to an individual who competes at BYB 22 Rocky Mountain Brawl, and that transpires on December the 2nd. We've got that lightweight championship being defended, and it's quite the trilogy affair as Monica Medina and Paty Juarez enter the mighty Trigon, and great having Monica on the show. How's your day going there, Monica?
Oh, so far so good. Haven't left the house yet today. Just hanging out here this morning.
Yeah, that's my idea of a good day also, but, talking about homes, I saw you had a post a bit ago talking about how on December 2nd you're going to travel to Paty's hometown and end the trilogy once and for all. I mean, I imagine you're very motivated in general, but is there a little extra something when you're the away player, quote unquote, and you're kind of stepping onto someone else's turf there?
Yeah, there's a little bit more, I'm super motivated no matter where it's at, but I'm excited to end this in her hometown, I think that maybe her fans and maybe she thinks that she has an advantage being at home, but she has none.
And I was, saying from the top, quite the impressive trilogy fight, so I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on a few of them, because you guys had that initial fight at BYB 10 Biloxi Brawl in May of last year, and yeah, split decision, so very closely contested fight. Like, what were your main takeaways from the first fight, I suppose?
That first fight obviously was controversial, and, I still think I won it. That was my first time ever boxing, period. I've been MMA, jiu-jitsu girl. So I took away from that fight, honestly, that I fell in love with the sport of bare-knuckle boxing, and that I was a tough SOB. I went into that fight confident in myself a little bit, but just unsure, how anything was going to go. Like I said, I'd never boxed. But I took away from that fight that I was a bad bitch.
And I mean, you said it there. It's just so interesting because I feel like if someone were to, say, take in your last bare-knuckle fight, for instance, I think they would imagine you had like a very strong striking foundation for a while as opposed to, the jiu-jitsu, base and everything like that. Can you speak to, I guess, the rapid rate of development you've had in bare-knuckle? Because it seems like you're really taking to it quite well.
Yeah, like I said, I came from jiu-jitsu. All my MMA fights were always I take it to the ground. That's where I would beat them up at. I'm a 3-stripe brown belt in jiu-jitsu. And literally that first fight that I had with her, I think it was 3 months, maybe 2.5 months before that fight when Mel hit me up about that fight. And that was when I literally said, okay, no more jiu-jitsu, no more MMA, and started focusing on boxing. And, they say boxing's in the blood. I really believe it's in the blood. My dad boxed and my brother boxed in Puerto Rico and in Philadelphia. So I think it literally is in my blood. And just from that first fight, I was like, I'm in love with this. This is what I'm going to do. And I think I've gotten pretty good pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, as evidenced by the fact that you're, currently the BYB champion. And that leads me into the second Paty Juarez fight. You guys threw down at BYB 20 in September. What were your main takeaways from that fight? Because you ended up getting that unanimous decision distinction at the end.
Yeah, I went into that fight thinking, I was going to finish her. I wanted to finish her, but God, I love fighting so much, and I had so much fun just, picking my shots. I learned to slow down. The first fight with her, I was just all out brawling, just whatever, taking punches that I shouldn't have took. And I've learned to slow down. And in that fight was the first fight that I did not injure my hands at all. So I've gotten smarter with, where I'm landing my punches at. And I've watched that fight so many times. Me and my coach have broke it down. And I know exactly what she's going to do when I do something, and she's going to pay for it this time.
And you were kind of, I mean, I guess the wording, maybe I misconstrued. I imagine you're looking for this every fight, though. Do you foresee this one ending inside the distance, being that the first two fights went to the judges' scorecards?
I believe that I'm going to stop her in this fight. I really believe that I'm going to stop her. This is a quick turnaround, obviously, from September to December. So I haven't even gotten out of training camp at all. I had no injuries. All I had was a little black eye from that fight. So the next week I was right back in the gym, right back sparring. And like I said, we've studied the fight. We've picked it apart. And I know exactly what to do when she reacts the way she's going to react. she did it the entire fight. So I know what to do, and I do believe that I'll finish her. But everything's not guaranteed. No matter what happens, if it goes the distance, I'm going to win regardless. But I'm pretty confident that I'm gonna not necessarily get a KO, but it could be a TKO, doctor stoppage. But I believe I'm going to finish her.
And is there a certain excitement to maybe, I guess, putting the series behind you in a sense, like having some definitive sort of ending to everything, with this being the rubber match and then maybe facing like a newer crop of contenders thereafter?
Yes, absolutely. It's cool to have the trilogy fight and all that, but I'm excited to get that behind me and to fight some new people. Get this division going. Honestly, even dropping down to 125 and taking on whatever girls they have at 125. That's my natural weight class anyway. So I'm definitely excited to finish this and then see what we have for the future.
That's interesting. So some champ aspirations for you in BYB Extreme.
Yes, that's what I told them. I was like, after I put an end to Paty here, I'd like to drop down to 25 and let's get some belts out there, champ.
I mean, I love hearing that, and I guess just curious to kind of pull back to something you were talking about before. Just you were talking about how like your last Paty fight was a fight where you minimized the damage to the hands, and you were putting that out there in the context of learning the game a little bit more. I'm curious, like, is a lot of your journey with bare knuckle essentially a lot of like on the job training? Do you curate your camp in a certain way to, I guess, grow as a bare knuckle fighter and everything like that? I guess I'm kind of curious as to all of that there. Is it something that's mostly like on the job learning in a certain sense, or can you, I guess, really find a way to curate the preparations for bare knuckle and have those improvements?
I feel like it's a lot of on-the-job learning, honestly, for me. And bare knuckle's still so new, like I'm learning it, my coach is learning it, but he seems to have a very good sense of this bare knuckle stuff. And I've recently actually started back at the gym where Alan Belcher's training out of too. So I have him, to pick his brain on the bare knuckle stuff as well, on the boxing stuff. But for me, it literally is on-the-job learning. I like to spar a lot. I spar with really tiny gloves on, get it as close to, bare knuckle as possible. And that's kind of how we learn.
Yeah, and I mean, mentioning Alan Belcher and just that camp there, it seems like there's so many great individuals there, both in bare knuckle boxing and, bare knuckle MMA, which I've also noticed you were involved in. Like, I saw you had a post shouting out Mike Sanford a little bit ago. Can you talk to, I guess, how beneficial that is? Because, I mean, working with people who've, like yourself, fought under that Gamebred bare knuckle banner, former, BKFC champion and Alan Belcher and everything, I would think there'd be so much great knowledge to be had there. You're doing great things too, and yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, when I started training and fighting back in 2014, that's where I started, was with Alan Belcher and Mike Sanford. Mike Sanford was actually my kid's jiu-jitsu coach at the time, and then I kind of ventured off and started doing my own thing, and then I found Eric Graham in Hattiesburg, so now I've got Eric Graham, and now I'm back associated with Mike Sanford and Alan again. So I have all of these great coaches, and they have a lot of great fighters over there, at American Top Team here with Alan and them. So it's been really nice. I have, my Killer Bee guys over here who are amazing, and then I have, for this camp right here, I've got Alan and them in my corner as well. So Paty's in some big trouble.
Well, you seem like you have a great group behind you. Like you said, Graham MMA / Killer Bees and Alan Belcher's team. I mean, just great stuff. But I did mention the, bare knuckle MMA a bit. And obviously not to detract from focusing on this huge trilogy fight you have there, but it seemed like you were able to create a certain amount of history with, like, bare knuckle MMA, just in as far as being in that first ever women's bare knuckle MMA fight and holding as many fights as you do for the women in bare knuckle MMA. Is that something that would still be on the radar in the future? I mean, I imagine you have a lot to do in bare knuckle boxing, as you were kind of talking about some of the goals you have, but is bare knuckle MMA something that could be on the radar down the line, I suppose?
It's very possible. I've been on Dean Tool and them about letting me fight Pearl Gonzalez in bare knuckle MMA. They hit me up one time about it, and I was like, let's do it. And then it never happened. And if they offer me that fight and they offer me the money that, that they like to pay, I would definitely do it. I'm 39 now, just had a birthday. So, training MMA is a lot different than training boxing. There's a lot more to it, so it's a lot more on the body. And I feel young. Like I said, I'm 39, but I do feel young. But not going to lie, the training is a little strenuous. So if they offered me the right person, and honestly, for me, I don't know why I want to fight Pearl Gonzalez. I just do. So if they ever listen to this, they know I want to fight Pearl. If they offer me her, I would absolutely get back into the MMA.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, a former UFC participant and someone who definitely has a certain amount of, I guess, notoriety or cachet, however you want to phrase it. So that makes sense.
Yeah. But I love bare knuckle boxing. This is my thing. So, like I said, MMA, it would just have to be the right person, the right amount of money, and I would do it. But my heart is definitely set on BYB right now.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, doing great things in the mighty Trigon. And whenever I talk to fighters, I kind of like to get some insights into the nickname. I like how your nickname is Phenomamom. Like, where did that all come from? I mean, based on, checking out your social media, it seems like you're a very involved mother and everything like that, which is great. But I guess who gave you the moniker to start with and all?
So my son, he's 21 now. He started training jiu-jitsu when he was 8. And, from the first day, he was just, amazing at it. And started competing all over the country. And he got the nickname Little Phenom. And he was training for a few years. And I was actually, almost 200 pounds sitting on the sidelines. And, one day decided, my kids are doing this. I need to get myself in shape. So I started training at the gym, doing jiu-jitsu, doing fitness kickboxing and stuff. And about a year into it, I had lost 50 pounds, and they convinced me to start training MMA with one of the girls that was training. And 4 months later, it was like, hey, you want to take a fight? And one of my friends, she's actually still my great friend to this day, she was like, you have to have a nickname if you're going to fight. And they were like, well, you're Little Phenom's mom. And literally the next day, they were like, we got it, Phenomamom. And it's just been that ever since, thanks to my son.
I mean, that's such a great backstory. I love to hear that. Is your son still involved in martial arts? Like, he talked about how often he was competing. Is he still out there actively doing that? Or maybe in, post-secondary, doing something schooling-wise, or maybe a trade or something? What's he getting up to?
He's down in Florida living. He works in the oil field right now, but he does train jiu-jitsu. He doesn't do it as much as he used to, he tells me, but he does go and he still does jiu-jitsu. He did one kickboxing fight, and he said that just wasn't for him. He's a jiu-jitsu kid, so he gets in there, not as much as he wants to, but he definitely does still do some jiu-jitsu.
Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, you had a great jiu-jitsu base and are succeeding in bare-knuckle. Maybe we see another, individual from the fam knuckling up and whatnot and throwing down.
I wish. I would love to see him do it.
Yeah, maybe we can get you both on a card together. I feel like that would be cool.
He's a bad little motherfucker, too. I tell you, to this day, I'm like, oh my God, he's a badass. He inspires me for sure.
Well, that's incredible to hear. I love hearing stuff like that. It just speaks to how powerful, family is and those sort of connections. But I really appreciate you making some time to come on the show, Monica. This is a really huge fight and one I've been intrigued about for quite a while. So great that you were able to, give me some of your time. But, curious if maybe there's a final parting thought you might want to add as we're kind of wrapping things up here, though.
No, man, I'm just excited. We got less than 3 weeks to go. I'm excited to get up there. I think people are thinking, maybe getting me up to elevation is gonna change it. But I'm excited to go out there and show everybody that I'm the champ for a reason at 135, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish Paty, and then I'm going to move down to 125. I'm going to take some belts there, and then all these girls can come bring it.
I was going to say some great goals in the future laid out, but the next chapter in this story unfurling on December 2nd, and just really excited to see this Paty Juarez rubber match for the lightweight title. Definitely a great fight at BYB 22. Rocky Mountain Brawl. But to reiterate, thank you for coming on the show and talking, Monica. You have a great rest of your day and looking forward to checking out this fight when it goes down.
Yes, sir. Thank you.